Could have started a whole new one, but I know you had some stuff you had to get off your chest. Brother Polight and Tommy Sotomayor went in on their little thing, and I know they said a lot of stuff, and it's kind of hard to summarize what they said and how they said it. And what was your initial reaction, Sabastian, when you first saw them even on the same stream together?
Right. Right. First and foremost, I would not have even assumed that they would be on the same stream, because Tommy is so, what am I trying to say? He speaks a very destructive criticism of black women.
Yeah.
Where Polight is very constructive in his criticism.
Yeah, he talks real bad about women.
Yeah. And what I learned from that whole thing, kind of to put into a summary, is, how do I say this? A culture, a real three-dimensional culture, right? You know something is real because everything around it interacts with it in a real way. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in other words, I can ask you what your day was like, and you can tell me how it smelled. You could tell me what you ate. You could tell me what you did. You could tell me about the time you did it. There are lots of details to a day. And you can look at it from a lot of different perspectives. And those perspectives could be positive. Those perspectives could be negative, but they all make up a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times these brothers, especially I use Tommy as an example, and I don't want to bash Tommy, not by any means, but Tommy is just speaking from a place, from his perspective, right? And sometimes, because we've been trained to throw away certain perspectives, we'll throw away the perspective and not take the good out of it. That happens in religion, that happens in politics, that happens in everything, right? We'll throw away the perspective, or sometimes we'll throw away the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So a lot of the things that Tommy is saying, some of them could actually be helpful, but I feel like his delivery at times can be a bit abrasive. No, let me not say a bit abrasive. I'm being too kind. It can be assholish. Yeah, but I don't necessarily throw away the point that he's making. You know, like they said, the old saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, I try my best not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because some of the things that he's saying actually do make some kind of sense.
Exactly, and you gotta definitely take away the good and let him keep all the bad tendencies that he has, because he definitely has bad tendencies when it comes to black women.
Yeah.
Even his own mother.
Even his own mother. And but again, if he had said those same things about his father, and this is one of the things that he said, and I wanted to kind of chime in on. If he had said those same things about his father, he would have gotten a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's okay, because in our culture, again, our culture has a certain setup, and in our culture, it's okay to down black men. It's okay. It really is. And if you, and I'm not saying, again, everybody don't jump on me yet. Hold on, let me get this all out.
They ready to get on your case.
I bet. But I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that culturally it's more acceptable to talk bad about your boys, right? You assume boys can take it. If they cry about it, they sissies, you know. If they say don't do that, you say they acting like a girl, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a part of our gender acceptance. But he knows that. Tommy knows that. He knows he's stirring the pot when he refers to a woman as a bitch. He knows that, and he does that for that response, right? Because when another piece of our culture is, even if we hate something, you could try this out next time you go on a date. Order something that you know is going to be gross, right? Hopefully it's an appetizer. It's too much money. Order something that you know is going to be nasty for your girl or whoever you out with, and they're going to taste it, and they're going to go, oh, this nasty. Taste it. In other words, when we have a negative experience, we tend to share our negative experiences.
In a heartbeat.
It's not as common to share our positive experiences, which is why negative people, when I call him negative, I don't mean that his whole overall message is negative, but using that negative perspective gets him so much attention. We all know Tommy Sotomayor because of that negativity.
Yeah, and he's known for that. And somebody was even saying that in the comments that, oh, this Tommy, he a coon and a sellout, and he's so negative, I don't want to see him. And they just shut off anything he had to say because they couldn't put it in their mind that he had anything to offer at all. I mean, you know, I don't want to bash him either, but, you know, I guess he brings a lot of it on himself.
Oh, but he brings it on himself, I believe, on purpose. One is we got, again, it's so much encompassed in that conversation, bro. We have to look at, let me start with where I tuned in. I tuned in right when Polight was talking about how he moved out to LA and how he moved away from the hood. He didn't need his hood pass anymore, blah, blah, blah. That part of the conversation, right? And it brought me to a question. I asked this question. I said, what we have to do is we have to define what success is. I don't know if y'all remember me typing it.
Yeah, I remember that. And a lot of people definitely don't know what success even is to them.
Right. And we have to define success, because minus a success, if you don't know what it is, you don't know when you reached it. So the question is success in the money that I get, the followers that I obtain? Is success in how popular I am? Is success just having a house and kids? Is success, right? So because we do not know what success is, we reach for it in any way we deem necessary. I'm going to tell you why that's the case. And Polight said something like this. He said, I can't remember exactly what he said. Oh my God. He said something to the degree of, I don't let my children hang out with people that I don't respect. It was somewhere around in that part. But basically what he was saying was, you see in other cultures, right? Oh, no, I know what it was. He said, we used to have a lot of hair. That's what it was. We used to have a lot of hair, but I cut my hair off to be in movies. I stopped wearing dashikis because it wasn't appropriate dress for blah, 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 right? And somebody might say, you a sellout.
Right.
Right. But then the question is, do you want to be broke in a dashiki?
Or rich in a suit?
Rich with a brush set, right? Right. So we being in our situation, being in our current cultural situation, we have that dichotomy of ideas a lot. We have to decide, what is success? Is it success for me to stay black and proud, right? Or is it success for me to utilize the system, right? Is it success for me to go to school, get a degree, get a job, go to church, right? So because we cannot determine that success, right, we end up bashing other people's success. And they talked about that too when they were talking about, people bashing them, right?
Exactly.
And I'm not here to necessarily bash a person's success, because I believe when you build a culture, you have to build all those pieces of the culture. Every culture is going to have the intellectual. Every culture is going to have the athlete. Every culture is going to have the artsy person. Every culture is going to have the businessman. That breeds a different kind of success. I think that as a first form, and I say this all the time, bro. I live in LA, and in LA there was a Koreatown, there was a Chinatown, there's a little Jewish community. It's like a very large Jewish community. There's a little Armenian. There's all these little Russia. There are all these places that people of a culture come and they collaborate, right? There is no Africa town. The closest thing to Africa town, we refer to it as the hood, right? The hood, right? Now, the hood is not, it is, and Polight said this, it is not a black neighborhood because the blacks don't own it. It is a white neighborhood with black residents.
Exactly.
Right? Now, all those other little such and suches are Korean-owned neighborhoods that Koreans populate and other people populate too. I used to live in Koreatown, right? But when I'm in Koreatown, I understand they're gonna write in Korean. I understand that you're gonna hear people speak Korean. I understand there's gonna be a lot of Korean restaurants. I understand that because this is their culture, and because they have a culture of their own, they can then dictate what is good, what is a good Korean, what is not a good Korean.
Right. So that's where we are lacking as a black community, any type of, I guess, baseline to start from.
Right, exactly. I tell the story all the time about, if you don't mind me sharing this, I've done it before, but it's important. I had a dream one time about these dogs, right? And it was a dog that lived in the house and a dog that lived out in the yard. Little like, I got a little Yorkie. The house dog was Yorkie. The one I backed was like a lab. And so the master came and put the bowl down for the lab in the backyard, and the lab come up and he look over in the house. And he see the house dog. He say, "You're not a real dog. You sleep on a pillow." And the house dog said, "It's a doggy pillow. It's made for dogs. You're not a real dog. You live in a wood box outside." And the dog said, "Oh man, it's a dog house. It's made for dogs." And then the yard dog said, "You're not a real dog. What are you eating? Are those rocks?" And he said, the house dog said, "It's dog food. It's made for dogs." And he said, "You're not a real dog. What are you eating? Those are scraps off of a human's table." And the yard dog said, "It came in a doggy bag. It's made for dogs." Then a street dog walked by and looked at them both and said, "Ain't neither one of y'all a real dog. Y'all got a master." And they looked at each other. And then they looked back at the street dog and said, "You're not a real dog. You eat out of trash cans." I woke up. Now, I'm not one of those people who believe that God spoke to me. I'm not that spiritual, right? But I did hear a voice, and the voice did ask me, which one of those is a real dog? So I'm asking you, Chris, which one of those is a real dog?
It depends on the perception of that dog, I would say. Probably none of them. Or maybe, I guess I should go the other way and say all of them are. They're just in their own perspective and the way they see the world.
That's what I said, Chris. I said all of them are dogs. Voice said, "Nope, son. None of those are dogs. All of those are pets that the master has named a dog. Real dogs live in the woods. Coyotes are real dogs. Wolves are real dogs. And the difference between a real dog and a pet is a real dog only lives by the law of the dog. The pet lives by the law of the master." Right? Now those dogs, they do have different experiences. They got different experiences. You got the house dog who lives very close to the master, might even sleep on the master's bed, might have a sweater like the master, right? Master might even kiss him in the mouth sometime, right? But that house dog can't so much as pee without the master's permission.
That's true.
He got to wait for the master to say he can use the restroom. He got to wait for the master to say it's okay to bark. You got to wait, right? That dog he got a lot of freedom, right? I mean, he got a lot of luxury, but not a lot of freedom, right? Then you got, and that's kind of like our corporate black people, right? Those who did what they call the right thing, right? They went to school, they got the degrees, they're Christians, they participate and, they vote, all that, right? And I'm not knocking any of that, by the way. But those are, our good American black people.
Yeah,
then you got
a good old boy.
Yeah, good old, right? You got yard dog.
A good nigger.
Right? Yard dogs are more like me. We got a little room to run around, right? Yard dogs are people who are more creative, that are more creative types. They get out and they do their own thing. They are the up and coming business owners, the more entrepreneurial type, right? The artists, the create, those kinds. Now, while they got more room to run around, they have a certain limit to how far they can take it. Right? Am I making sense?
Making total sense. And it sounds like us, and it is us.
Right. They got a certain limit to how far they can go with that. Right? Man, I think my Skype messed up. Hold on. God, dog.
It sounds a whole lot like us. Like we are that. Which dog are we? Are we the dog,
Right.
the yard dog, the junkyard dog, the dog on a leash, the one that ain't gonna let a leash get put on them? They them
Right.
breakers.
So that yard dog, they can run around, but there's still a limit to how far they can go. And the yard dog always eats after the master.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter, like I'm a songwriter. I write songs, bro. It's what I do for a living. I'm also an artist. Right? I'm an artist and songwriter. I've written some big songs in my life. But please believe, I did not get a check until Universal got a check, Def Jam got a check, Motown got a check, the artist got a check, the producer got a check, then I got a check.
So everybody get to eat, and then you might get a few crumbs when everybody done.
Right. Now it might be closer to what the master ate, though. At least it ain't dog food, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a scrap of a steak. It is, right?
A piece of a bone, huh?
Oh man, yeah. But it ain't dog food. I can always say that, right? And then you got the street dog. And the street dog, they got more freedom than anybody. They can run, do whatever they want to, right? They don't have it. They don't care about the rules so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no. They can get to do it. But if they do anything that upsets the master can call them dog catchers, and them dog catchers are gonna block them dogs up.
And all your benefits are gone when they say snap.
Right. They can euthanize you whenever they get ready. Right. They can put you in a cage whenever they get ready. Street dogs used to getting it out of the mud, so they think that the yard dog is soft. They think that the house dog is soft. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But all of those puppies, all of those pets, still would have a hard time if I put them with real dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put them back out around the wolf. The house dog get hungry. He comes sit down by the wolf. Wolf say, "What you doing?" I'm waiting on something to eat. What you mean we waiting on get something to eat?
Waiting.
Right?
You got to wait to eat instead of going to get it yourself.
Gotta go get it, right? And so he said, "Okay, well, where's the cupboard?" Cupboard? What are you talking about, bro? Like, you see that rabbit right there? We have to kill it. And he go, "Oh, my master taught me never to bite." Right? The yard dog might be okay with biting because he been in the yard. He used to protecting his house.
Exactly.
Right? So when the yard dog, when they get ready to get something to drink, he comes sit by the wolf. And the wolf say, "What you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm thirsty." He said, "Well, again, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm waiting on somebody to bring us a bowl." A bowl? That's not how we get water out here. Right? We go get water. He said, "Okay, well, where's the water?" "About a mile down that way." "Oh, my master taught me never to leave the yard." Right? Then you get to the street dog who okay with leaving the yard. He okay with biting. He cool with all that. And they get hungry and the wolves take off running and he run with the wolves, right? And then the wolves find something to eat and they jump on it. And the street dog just bark. And he sit down beside him. The wolf said, "What are y'all doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm just gonna wait till you finish eating. I eat after everybody else." Right? In other words, the conditioning, the overall conditioning that those puppies have been in have shaped their response to things. All of that, what we just heard, are people who are somewhere in the middle of transitioning from either being a house, a yard, or a street dog, trying to find their wolf. Because at some point, and if you go back far enough in every puppy's DNA, every puppy, there is a real dog. There are some things in them that they cannot shake. No matter how much we love dogs, no matter how human-like we treat them, they bark. They pee on trees. It's just a part of their nature.
It's in their DNA already.
Right. It's just who they are. And so we are witnessing people coming out of their pet experience trying to find their real dog, which is why I cannot bash them because I know what they're after. Right. And they in a trillion different ways. But again, I can't bash them because I see what they're after. When I speak to my brothers who are Muslim, or when I speak to my brothers who are Hebrew, when I speak to my brothers that are Moors, or those who follow Kemetic science, or those who are atheists, or those who are whatever they may be, I know they are just trying to find their inner wolf.
They're trying to come on out and be the real them.
Yeah, they just trying to get back to something that feels natural to them, because society, we are now in a place in society where society has made us uncomfortable. Now, as long as we were comfortable, nobody was talking like this, right? We would not be having this discussion in 1990. we weren't uncomfortable. We would not be having this discussion. This discussion arose because things got uncomfortable.
Exactly. Right? We got out that comfort zone, and reality snaps everybody back to where we're supposed to be at.
Yes, it does. It really does. It snatch you right back into. It snatch you right back into. Oh my God! I got to do what's good for me. I can't always depend on this thing to work out for me. Mm-hmm. So, trying to find their true inner self, and that comes out in a lot of ways. Some people speak from a place of discomfort, like Tommy. Tommy's saying, look, the thing that made me try to find myself was nobody accepted me in that system. So I rejected, and I rejected them. Right? Mm-hmm. You got Polight who's saying, no, I grew up under Dr. Malachi York, who taught me black empowerment. Even though I had done some things that were wrong, he told you he went to prison early on in his life, but then he turned his life around. So he's speaking from a place of acceptance. Mm-hmm. Right. So, he's trying to find his true self, coming away from a criminal activity, trying to find the inner good in him. He's rejecting all that negative energy, which is why his name is Polight. Mm-hmm. Right. The light to himself. Either way it goes, they are simply trying to get back to what they really are, right? Mm-hmm. The person that they really are. So it makes it, I mean, and when you look at it that way, it's hard to really bash the brothers, right? Mm-hmm. We might agree on some things. It's some things that they said I agree with. It's some things they said I disagree with, right? Mm-hmm. But I know that in the overall, their goal is to protect and preserve black life.
Now, do you agree when people say that, like I said earlier, somebody say, oh, that's that coon Tommy, I don't want to hear nothing he got to say. He has nothing to offer. Let me know when he's off, stuff like that. Is it a good idea to just turn people that you disagree with off completely?
No. If you are only listening to people who agree with you, you will never learn anything. Mm-hmm. Right? You cannot learn if you are only listening to the people who are going to say what you wanted them to say. Right? We have there's a scripture in the Bible that says in the last days the times will come where people will deny sound doctrine, but they will heap upon themselves people who tickle their ears, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, I'm always looking for somebody who's gonna make me feel okay, right? I want to feel okay. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. I want to feel okay. Right. I watched a video of something that happened down in Florida. This dude broke into this lady's house and she shot him. Right, dude, the young kid about 17 years old broke into the lady's house, and she pulled up at the house when he was like leaving out. And the news report said they had a confrontation, and she ended up shooting the dude one time, right? And he died. Well, they was interviewing the dude's cousin, and the dude's cousin was like, she didn't have to shoot him. He was a young man. He had goals in his life, blah, 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 blah. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, I get it. You don't want your cousin to die. I get it. Right? But what you wanted somebody to do was coddle a person that was breaking into their house. Mm-hmm. Right? In other words, we want to feel okay. We want people to just say we're all right.
And just take bad news like that. Just take it on our spirit and just live with it like, oh, well.
Right. But at some point, in order for us to do something better, I have to say, we didn't do that right. Mm-hmm. Now, I think I prefer the more moderate road when it comes to that, right? I prefer a way of speaking that doesn't necessarily confront, that's not about tearing somebody down, but about showing the opportunities to do better. That's just my road. Mm-hmm. But it's some people that don't learn that way. It's some people who really need to hear, you fucking up. I know some coaches, they real hard on their players, right? Mm-hmm. I know some coaches that's not so, like Steve Kerr, with the Warriors, he's not so hard on his players. Phil Jackson getting your grip, right?
A heartbeat.
But that's just Coach Popovich will make you feel stupid. But that's just their way of coaching. At the point that if we keep asking for black leaders, quote unquote, when they start to arise, or at least the black popular, I don't know if we want to call them leaders, but the black popular people, when they start to arise, then what we have to do is just decide that we trust their intention and then go through their ideology and find what fits us.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it don't fit, if it don't apply, let it fly. That's what I always say. If it don't apply, let it fly.
I know that's right. Now, I did want to ask you that. Do you believe that there will be the black leader that comes along the knight in shining armor with his cape on and shield and ready to save all black people? Is that realistic, or that's just a fairy tale?
Yes, no, yes, yes. It's coming. It's the black leader is coming, and it's gonna really arise with a cape on, and it's gonna save all black people. But it won't be one person, right? If you follow the Bible, then you know, if you follow the Bible, right, then you know that Christ is in you. Well, if Christ is in you and Christ is in me and Christ is over there and Christ is in her and Christ is in them, then for Christ to return means we return, right? It's that understanding that we are saviors, right? We're growing into that. We hadn't reached that yet. Some people are still at that point where they still feel like someone is going to save us. There's some of us that are already growing up and saying, oh no, I'm the savior. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save me and mine, right? I'm going to help create systems. So, but as we continue to grow, I believe you'll see that the black leader has always been here.
We just have to be woke up.
Right. Martin Luther King didn't do that by himself. Right? Malcolm X was not alone, right? But history will push those guys to the forefront so that you will believe that it was one person.
Exactly.
So you will always wait on one person, right? But those guys weren't in a world of vacuum, right? They definitely, it was tons more people who were speaking than Malcolm. It was tons more people who was organizing than Martin, right?
So it might be that they handpicked who's going to be that leader, who's going to be that mouthpiece, who's going to be the one to make the struggle, this team versus that team to divide and conquer us.
Easy. Yeah. I mean, you got to imagine, bro, if I told you, imagine, you ever watch Captain Planet? Remember that show, Captain Planet? And everybody had their little element, earth, wind, fire, water, heart. Right. Each of those people controlled a certain element.
And they come together like Voltron on them, huh?
And together, they made something even bigger than themselves. We forget that we control an element. We waiting on Captain America or Captain Planet, and we won't put our Earth in it. Because we're waiting on Captain Planet. But you don't get to Captain Planet without your earth, your wind, your water, your fire, your heart. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly. We got to have all the elements.
We got to put the elements together, right? You got to put the elements together, man. I always say, they talked about relationships, and excuse me for jumping all around, but it was just one of those conversations. I always say, people want to be in relationships like their grandma and granddaddy. No, they don't. They want to last as long as their grandma and granddaddy.
Exactly.
Right. But what they forget about their grandmama and granddaddy is they were in a completely different climate. Right. There was a reason they lasted that long. One, they couldn't talk so damn much.
Right.
Right. Your grandma could not call your granddaddy when he left the house. Nope. She couldn't check his text messages. She couldn't tweet him. She couldn't email him.
He gone.
He was gone. He was gone.
And that's why Papa was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home, huh?
That's how it went, right? They didn't do all this talk. They didn't go on all these dates we trying to go on now.
Right.
They couldn't. They couldn't afford them, right? We romanticize the idea, but we don't recognize how that culture came to be. Your grandma and granddaddy probably talked as much as you and your ex did the first 3 months in their whole career. Bro, they didn't have... Think about how we communicate. Now, I'm getting to a point. But just think about how much more we communicate now. I'm able to speak to you. I've never even met you, bro. We're speaking face to face.
Right. That's the technology. You got to love it.
That's the technology. You feel me? Your grandma and granddaddy couldn't do that. They had to plan dates because it wasn't no pop-up, I'm going to call her when I get in the car. You couldn't just do that. So you had to plan a date. You had to save your money up. So you had to make some plans. Like, in other words, there were things around in the culture, in the agriculture, or like the natural surroundings that helped create those situations. Some of them were positive, some of them not so positive. So people were making do. I say this to say, you can't get that flour without that dirt. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't make that flour without that dirt, right? And sometimes we trying to, make the flour without the dirt, right? We want all the pretty parts of it, right? Without realizing what made that thing.
Exactly.
Right? What made for Malcolm and Martin wasn't just that they were supermen, right? They were supermen, don't get me twisted. But there was a community behind them asking for what they had. And they had to trust. You believe everybody agree with everything Malcolm said?
Heck no, in a heartbeat. They was probably mad at him, and Malcolm too. Malcolm and Martin.
Right. But they had to trust that, okay, in the overall, these people are after what I'm after. Hey, let's get behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we got going on here, man. Because we do have so much technology, you got Umar and Polight and Tommy and Dr. Mayat and Young Pharaoh and Divine Prospect and Nasi, and I could go on for days. Just Seti and Dr. Muhammad.
And they all represent their one piece, but they are all pieces of a major puzzle.
That's what I'm saying, man. They all pieces of a major puzzle. And when you start to piece that puzzle together, when you can start to see how those things link, then you realize, man, these boys got some powerful information, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta piece them together for it to be useful information.
Exactly, and a lot of people just can't see it. They see that one thing they disagree with, and they turn everything off and can't hear anything else out of that person's mouth, because now in their mind, that person is so negative, so bad, so wrong on whatever issue it may be. It may be something that this person, the individual may not even understand themselves, and they're mad at somebody else just for speaking their opinion or their point of view.
Let me ask you a question. This real question, bro. Which is more cruel, to starve a person to death or to feed them to death?
Maybe to feed them to death, because it seems like you're just making lazy people.
Well, there is no real answer to that question.
Right.
Because in the overall, they still die, right?
They gonna die either way. So how about just sustain life?
Right. But the issue is, most of us we used to being fed to death, right? And people just telling us, oh, if we just pray, we are hooked on hope. We hope addicts, bro.
That's what Obama was. They sent us in and got hook, line, and sinker with that one.
He was a hope dealer, bro. You got dope dealers and hope dealers, and he was a hope dealer. And I'm not against Barack Obama. Keep in mind now, I ain't here to bash nobody.
Yeah.
But we get hooked on hope. Hope is important. But it's like sugar, bro. Sugar is good. It's cool, man. Hey, every now and then you want to eat some sugar.
Yeah.
But you can't live on it.
Exactly. I got family members, if I mention anything negative or bad about Obama, oh no, he did this, and it was the Congress that wouldn't help him, and giving excuses and passes, and they all gonna do what they gonna do. But I'm like, what point do people say, wait a minute, this ain't adding up? Eventually we can look at a situation and say, common sense tells us something ain't adding up here. You could make excuses forever, but at what point do people wake up and say that this just ain't right?
Man, I'm gonna tell you like this, bro. George Bush, we start with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was the Hollywood president, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ronald from Hollywood, he was an actor in Hollywood. Ronald Reagan was very influential in getting Hollywood to help the rocket, the spaceship to the moon. A lot of people don't know how much Hollywood helped on that. But we really turned that into quite the TV spectacle. For the look, they moved the launch site. They put little flecks of gold in the rocket. They shot it a certain way to make it look majestic. Ronald Reagan was influential in that. Because of that, it helped him get the White House. It wasn't until Reagan showed up, right, that really we watched Hollywood. The first big blockbuster movie was Jaws. But in the 80s, we had blockbuster movies. The government started feeding money back to Hollywood. He was the Hollywood president, right? He was the Hollywood president. After that,
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? This is the student master teacher, Mr. I Stay Woke, Chris Monroe, and we just finished up the first part of the interview with Sabastian Kole. We got more parts coming up dealing from many topics, from relationships to a whole lot more. Make sure you share this out to all your followers. and support the movement. iShopWoke.com is the website that brings this all to you. iShopWoke.com is the new website. Check that out. Follow me on all social media outlets at Chris Monroe STL. Do what you do, be who you be, and I'll see you before you